in which your very existence is considered useless and irrelevant. With the rise of technology comes also the rise of dominance. You may say, well, we don't live in a world where we are irrelevant or useless. We all have a job. Jobs are quickly dissipating. They're disappearing due to numerous things. But for instance, really, think about it. Hello, Applebrooks, honey. Imagine living in a world where there is a global, useless class of people. And, sometimes, there's people who say, you know what, that person is useless. They can't do anything. You can't depend on them at all because they're useless. You ever remember saying that or hearing people say they're just useless? And like, your opinion of me is irrelevant because you do not hold any, in my life. You're irrelevant. Okay, us humans, we're known to think of others as useless. We are, you are. I have thought that in my mind too of certain individuals, and it's a terrible thing to think. It really is. But could the day come when there is a global class of people who are considered useless? And it's due to the lack of being able to learn a new skill, keep up with the technology that is ever increasing and ever learning and ever revolutionizing the workforce and the whole world. I've talked about Yuval Harari before. I have. And he was at the World Economic Forum. He speaks a lot about algorithm. He speaks a lot about the possibility of a global dictatorship, not done by humans, but done by AI. That's what he speaks about, AI, the algorithm, and all of that. And he gives an example, say North Korea, 20 years down the road. Every citizen is required to wear a Fitbit that monitors your heart rate and everything, and all the data is collected. And the dear leader gives a speech. And based on your heart rate, if your heart rate does a certain thing and it shows that you're really upset and you don't like it, imagine when that happens, you're going to be killed, more or less. You're going to be taken out of this game we call life. So imagine being put into the useless society, a class of useless people. He also gave an example, good morning everyone, of say a 50-year-old truck driver who lost his job due to a driverless truck. And how do you gain new skills at that age? Because when you do, you can't keep up with that. You can't do what a driverless truck does, something like that, you all. It is something to think about because there are jobs that are becoming more automated. It is by AI. And AI, in the future, the algorithms and stuff, like when you go to apply for a loan for a vehicle or a home, and it's not done by the banks, but it's done by the AI, and the AI denies it, and you call the bank and they have no reason. They said, well, it's just been denied, and they have no control over it. The AI that is in charge is the one who tells you, whether or not you're going to get approved for a loan. He also went in far into the future, which we know. It will make decisions for you. It will. But to be called, He was talking about existential challenges to our species, really, um, by technological disruption, you all. This is really serious. It is. So let me look at this. So technology might disrupt humans. Well, it already is. And human society and the meaning of its life itself. So he says in Davos, much of the enormous promises of technology, and these promises are certainly real. The technology might also disrupt human society and the very meaning of human life in numerous ways, ranging from the creation to a global useless class to the rise of colonialism and of digital dictatorships. Look at this, you all. That's me. Hello, Gina, honey. The creation of a global useless class to the rise of data colonialism and digital dictatorship. They're very real possibilities. They really are. Um, and he goes on to say, look, I'll just let you do this. First, we might face upheavals on the social and economic level. Well, we're already facing them. Automation will soon eliminate millions upon millions of jobs, is what he goes on to say. And some other person would say that too. It was Elon Musk. Elon Musk said that also. Eliminate millions and millions of jobs. Things are becoming more automated. Even if you go to the grocery stores, you have the self-checkouts. And now they have where you can call your order in and the people will do your groceries. They'll deliver it to your house. Or a lot of factories now, they have robots doing the jobs. This is like eliminating, labor for human beings. And what you could do, they can do it a lot faster. They say listen to this. So he says, while new jobs will certainly be created, it is unclear whether the people will be able to learn the necessary new skills fast enough. So there's a 50-year-old truck driver. There's new jobs in designing software and teaching yoga to engineers. But how does a 50-year-old truck driver reinvent themselves as a software engineer and as a yoga teacher? You don't have enough time. You don't. You would not have enough time because, listen to this, the automation revolution will not be a single watershed event following which the job market will settle down into a new equilibrium. Rather, this is the clincher. It will be a cascade of even bigger disruptions because AI is nowhere near its full potential. So just because you lose your job to AI and you think you're going to learn a new skill, don't think that's going to be good enough because AI will further and further, it will keep evolving rapidly and you will not be able to keep up with it. You won't. Therefore, the old jobs disappear, new jobs emerge, and then the new jobs will disappear, he goes on to say, rapidly. It'd be so fast you can't keep up. Just like the updates on the phone. There's an update. There's even new phones like every few months. You got a new phone. You got a new computer, new updates, new versions. That's how fast it's growing, you all. No, Vonda, honey, stop feeding AI how to create. No. See, it's way beyond our control. We can't control it. It's already been put into action. It's been put into motion. We can't stop it. We cannot. I really feel within my spirit, it's already crossed that threshold. But there are some who say, no, it's nowhere near it. I really feel that it has crossed that. It's like a big train wreck coming is what it feels like, a big train wreck. And we ain't got to the wreck yet, but it's coming. It's building up so much momentum. But to use the word, a global class of useless. And they had, in this one article, they had use and then less. But then he combined the words. You know, you use less, but then you're a useless class of people. And your biggest challenge will be fighting against the irrelevant. If you cannot conquer the feeling of feeling irrelevant, then you're going to, what did he say you were going to do? Okay, yeah. You'll be separated. It says he says those who fell in the struggle against irrelevance, feeling irrelevant, will constitute a new useless class of people who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political system. And this economic and political system could be quite definitely controlled by AI. An artificial intelligent economic and political system that calls the shots. And this useless class will be separated by an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite. He goes on, he warns the elite too. So look, those who fell in their struggle against the irrelevance would constitute a new useless class. People who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic political system. The useless class will be separated by an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite. Look, it might create unprecedented inequality. Might? It will. Not just between classes, but also between countries. Also between countries, you all. We will have malfunction. You think we will? Yeah. Computer says no. Says unless we take action to distribute the benefit and the power of AI between humans, AI will likely create immense wealth in a few high-tech hubs, while other countries will either go bankrupt and become exploited data colonies, you all. Exploited data colonies. You can go there and you can look at it, you all, but listen, we're not talking about a science fiction scenario of robots rebelling against humans. We're talking about far more primitive AI, which is nevertheless enough to disrupt a global balance. Developing countries, you don't have enough data. You don't need to send soldiers to control a country. Look, we may face the rise of digital dictatorships that will monitor everyone all the time. You see that? Look. Warning. Automation will create a useless class. Ignore it. Warning. Digital dictatorship risk ahead. Ignore it or try to do a reset. They don't want it to have a dictatorship. They really don't want it. Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, I don't know how I got on him. Look at this, the danger formula. I don't know where he got this at, but biological knowledge. Oh, I got that light shining on me. Biological knowledge, computing power, data, ability to hack humans. And he goes on to say he really does speak about the ability to hack humans. If you know enough about biology and you have enough computing power and data, you can hack a person's body, their brain, and their whole entire life, more or less. And you'll be able to understand a person more than they understand themselves. You'll know everything about them from your personality. He says from the personality to their political moves, to their sexual preferences, to their mental weaknesses, to their deepest fears and hopes. He goes on to say, you'll know more about me than myself. And you can do that not just to me, but to everyone. With AI doing that, you are. And if you got your Fitbit, it's got all your biometric data. Like, not every single bit of it, but it monitors you, monitors your heart rate, everything. Keeps a running log of it, you all. Look, in the past, many governments wanted to be able to, listen, a system that can predict. Y'all listen to that. That sounds kind of sci-fi, like that movie, like your thought crimes. A system that can predict your feelings and decisions and can manipulate your feelings and your decisions and ultimately make the decisions for you. That's hacking the human body. If you have a system like that, a system that can do that, that doesn't sound very free. It doesn't. But you know that's where we're headed. We are headed there. Like I said, governments and tyrants wanted to do it, but they did not understand the biology well enough, and they didn't have enough computing power like AI. And now they will soon, at least some corporations, he goes on to say, will be able to hack systematically all the people. We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer a mysterious soul. We are now hackable animals. Do you think of yourself as a hackable animal? Listen, there's a proverb. Man's fate is like that of the animal. The power, look, he goes, the power to hack humans can be used for good purposes, providing much better health care. But the power, if it falls into the hands of a 21st century Stalin, the result will be the worst totalitarianism regime in human history. He's warning against it. We already have a number of applicants for the job of a 21st century Stalin. That's what Yuval Harari has said. A 21st century Stalin. The worst totalitarian regime in history. And he forced all, great, small, rich, poor, free, and slave, to receive a mark, either on the forehead or the right hand. And you could not buy or sell unless you had the mark. Okay, and those who refused, everybody will worship the beast, all those whose names have not been written in the book of life from the beginning of time. And if you fail to worship that beast, the beast system, you're going to be put to death. Rich, poor, free, slave, young and old, he calls all. And you couldn't buy, you couldn't sell, you couldn't participate in the economy. You couldn't. You were outside. You were like a useless class with none of the benefits, you all. You were on your own. You were that black sheep. You were thrown out. You're going to be the black sheep. You're going to be thrown out. Really. You're going to be excluded. You will truly not fit in. You won't. But he's talking about the worst totalitarian regime in human history. And they already have a number of applicants that will do that. Yeah. He said just imagine, he used North Korea as an example. That's when he said it. Imagine in 20 years, everybody is required they got a biometric bracelet that constantly is monitoring you. Your heart rate, your brain, you're active 24 hours a day. And you listen to the speech on the radio by the great leader. You know what you actually feel. And you clap your hands and you smile. But if you're angry, they know. You'll be in the gulag tomorrow. That's what he's saying, you all. Because it knows. It's sensing what you're doing. Yeah. He says if we allow the emergence of such a total surveillance regime, don't think that the rich and the powerful in places like Davos will be safe. That's what he says. He said, ask Jeff Bezos. In Stalin's Russia, the state monitored members of the communist elite They monitored the members of the communist elite more than anyone else in Stalin's Russia. You were monitored. If you were in a high place, you held a position of high authority, you were constantly monitored. They watched your every move back then, and they didn't have the AI computing power. They were watching you everywhere you go. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Remember that song? I always feel like somebody's watching me. I can't remember the rest of the words to that song, but I remember that song. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Um, so, um, so the same will be true of a future, he goes on to say, the same will be true of a future total surveillance regime. He's really putting the possibility out there. A total surveillance regime in the future if it falls into the wrong hands. And he knows that there are hands out there that it could fall into. The higher you are in the hierarchy, he says, the more closely you are watched. You know, if you're on the YouTube, if you're on the Facebook, if you're on any social media, oh, you're really being watched because you're right out there in public. Everything you do, it's being recorded, it's being saved. There's a digital profile of you, complete. It lacks nothing. You got your digital fingerprint, your digital biometric data. They got it already. They're watching everything you do, everything you say. They listening to your cell phone conversations, even when your phone is off, powered off. I guess you got to stick it in the microwave or go stick it in a lead box or some type of Faraday cage. And you got to be careful if you walk outside because they got those great big listening things, you know, those great big round like satellite balls. They had them at NSA in Maryland too, the great big round things. I asked my husband, what's that for? He goes, oh, that's for listening to conversations. Isn't that amazing? You can have something like that and it literally can listen to your conversations, even in the military. That's what my husband did at times. He had to get on the phone, put headphones on. They got people who do this. And even in East Germany, he was West Berlin, at Tempelhof Central Airport. They had a facility for his career field. And all day long, you had these earphones on your ears, and you're listening to what the East Germans were saying. He said you had to listen and you had to transcribe it. But then when the wall fell, thank God, the Berlin Wall fell down. It did, that separated the East from the West. Then his job, it was against the law, and then his career field right there was no more, and then he had to cross train. But they do that, you all. They listen to your conversation, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about your dog, if you're talking about the food that you're eating to your neighbor or something. They're listening to everything. They are. Everything. That was way back then, and that was in 1990, 89, 90, when my husband had that type of job. So this is wild. They say, do you want your CEO or your president to know what you really think about them? Do you want your boss at your job know that you really can't stand them, but you're going to put that smile on your face as soon as your supervisor or your boss walks by? You're going to, oh, hello. Or would you like to know that your friend, that you consider a friend, they're really nice to your face, but behind your back, they're backbiting you, they're stabbing you? Could you imagine a regime that does that, you all? Really? How about what if they implement that in your workplace? If you still have a human job, really, if they know what you really think? Do you think that it's the possibility that they have the technology already, like, honey, I shrunk the kids? Or what was that old thing where it was an old movie, they shrunk the people down into their little vehicle, their little, I don't know, submersible craft, and they went through the bloodstream of the human body. They did, and I don't know what they were doing in that body, flying up, swimming around, taking their submersible craft in through the bloodstream. Could you imagine that? First Amendments, Rob, honey, we've already addressed stuff like that. We've already addressed something like that in a previous video. We did. There was a civics class that was offered on a hypothetical situation of visitors from outer space. And the students were asked to pick 5 rights out of the Bill of Rights that they would like to pick. And it it said that if they failed to choose 5 from that Bill of Rights, their new rulers would choose for them. And they said that, the privacy or whatever said your new ruler, the new alien, your alien rulers or whatever it was, they may not have the same concept that you do of privacy. Okay, you may think, well, I have a right. Well, the new ruler, I did a video on it. Um, the civics class, hypothetical alien invasion, and a new Bill of Rights. That's what it was about. You had to pick 5 things that you could save if you could. And then I tied that video into, remember that this so-called this make-believe video transcript of this senator reading of otherworldly strength, and it kept saying classified, classified, classified. It was some kind of HR bill, and people said it was a hoax. But at the end of this, it was talking about their otherworldly strength. And then when he got to the end, and he said, a new Bill of Rights, we'll now vote on the bill. And they were talking about a alien species, otherworldly beings. And at the very end, he talked about the new Bill of Rights. It was at the classified, and he's saying, oh my God, because they were giant, flesh eating and stuff like this. And the world was totally in chaos. And then a civics class, and then your new, yeah. So I don't think it's really too far-fetched to think that such a world like that would exist in our future. I really don't. And I really don't think that it's too far-fetched or hypothetical to think that they were going to have a global class of useless people because they didn't have a job anymore. If you remember Mr. Musk, when he's sitting there, he's over there in the Middle East, he's sitting there with some leaders, and I guess it's a World Economic Forum too, in a nice suit. He looked kind of nice there. He looked kind of handsome. He was all, and then he's talking, and they had the audience there, and he was talking about the future and AI taking over the jobs, and then there wouldn't be no more jobs. So what do the people do? He goes, well, I think we might have to create some kind of universal basic income. I've done a video like that here too on my YouTube channel. And the gentleman sitting next to him, he goes, and Elon's going, well, we'll have to have a universal basic income. And Yuval Harari also has said the same thing. They know it's coming, and they're going to have a universal basic income for the people who lost their jobs. And what will they do with this irrelevancy, this useless society that has now came into existence, and we have the powerful one elite? And then you got something like the Hunger Games and stuff like that, you all. What will they do with it? Well, they got to keep them occupied. So they suggested video games and drugs. I guess they'll take drugs and play video games in a comatose state, more or less. You know how we're like tied to our phones, tied to the video games to keep this useless society because our jobs are gone. There's no skill set that we have that compete against AI. It's wild, you all. It's really wild. You know what? They encourage conversations like this so you can think about a future that's could be dominated by AI. Okay, and think about the meaning of life itself. He talks about the meaning of life itself, the meaning of human existence. That's what he talks about too, you all. So let me see this, you all. If we do, he says, it is then the interest of all humans, including the elites, to prevent the rise of such a digital dictatorship. He's warning them it's in our interest to prevent the rise of it. A digital dictatorships. There'll be no ifs, ands, or buts. There'll be no, oh, I'm sorry, or let me explain. No. There will be no room for explanations based on a human viewpoint or coming from a human standpoint. There'll be no. In that type of digital Dictatorship, it doesn't care. It's not going to have any compassion. Okay? It will not have any compassion. I think he wrote this about that too. He says the ability to hack humans might still undermine the very meaning of human freedom. Human freedom. Do you value your freedom that you have now? Do you? Um, Now, let's face it, with the ever increasing AI, some of our freedom is disappearing because you don't have the privacy that you think you had, just like in that hypothetical digital hypothetical civics class about the alien visitors from outer space, and the alien, your new ruler, may not have the same concept of privacy as you do. And that's what he's talking about. It really is. Humans will rely on AI. Do you rely on AI to suggest? You ever get on your phone or you go looking for something, and your phone suggests what you're thinking about? Well, how about this? Which that can be used for good. It can. It's nice to have similar products. Like, this product is not available, but we do have this type of product. You might consider that, or we found this product for you at a cheaper price, and it's just as good. To see, in that instance, AI is really being helpful right there in suggesting. Okay, it is. And you can do those pictures. What would you look like with a different color hair? What would you look like with this outfit on? Okay, it does all kinds of things, you all. But as humans rely more on AI, he goes on to say, uh, to make more and more of their decisions, the authority will shift from humans to algorithms. And this is already happening. Okay, it's even happening on the YouTube. When you watch certain videos of a certain nature, on a certain subject, that AI is so intelligent, it's going to recommend other videos just like it to you because you have expressed interest in it. That's why you don't get notifications from certain channels, because they don't specifically match what you were watching. Okay, it's just like videos like this. How many people is going to be watching a video talking like this? No, this video is not going to get suggested unless someone is thinking about the same particular subject matter, and like I'm speaking of, the video is not going to be suggested unless they are interested in it to begin with. So look at, now they got this, like, billions of people trust the Facebook algorithm to tell us what is new, and the Google algorithm tells us what is true. Netflix will tell us what to watch. It is true, you all. If you watch Netflix and Amazon and Alibaba, Alibaba had them 40 thieves and something. Alibaba algorithms, I've never heard of an Alibaba algorithm. They will tell you what to buy, and even, you can set up an algorithm. You can set up a reminder. In 4 months, remind me to buy this filter for my refrigerator, and it will remember. It never forgets. It's like an elephant. It never forgets. So in the not so distant future, Yuval Harari goes on to say, similar algorithms might tell us where to work, who to marry, and also decide whether to hire us for a job, whether to give us a loan, whether the central bank should raise the interest rate. Well, that algorithm sounds like it's going to be in control. And they can almost do that right now. So who to marry, you can do that. You can take your life path number, and they have this thing called life path compatibility. And you can, the person you're really interested in, and you can plug in their life path number, and it will tell you who you're going to be compatible with. It really will. And who that you will just rub the wrong way, that you are going to clash. And it's pretty spot on too. It is. That's, I think it's not the AI, the life path numbers. I really think it's not the AI. But what if it is and we just don't realize it? What if that was like a program of AI, because it can, your life path number, it does tell you. And there are certain people that I clash with, and they're the power 8s. They're the life path number 8, and life path number 5 is supposed to be my complete opposite. I get along really good with 4s, really good with 1s and 2s, but the 8s and the people I've struggled with work, since I'm a life path number 11, they were 8, and they didn't like me. They didn't like my life path number. And you can say, well, my spirit did not go with theirs. Oh, no, it didn't. But I wonder if that's tied. Okay, really, I wonder if that's tied. And the life path number will also tell you, you know, if who you're compatible with and who you're not, who you kind of got a mediocre thing. And there really is some truth to that. So I wonder why within my mind, does the life path number somehow is AI involved with that? It's a number. It is a number. AI is like numbers. Numbers all out there, you all. It's really interesting if you think about it because it could be much deeper than what we realize. And I know I'm not looking at the comments. If I look at the comments, I will be totally unfocused. So that's why I'm trying to keep on rolling with the flow. That's right. You got to do that. Keep on rolling with the flow. So if you ask, like talking about the loan, if you needed to get a loan, if you ask the bank, why didn't you get that loan? And the bank didn't raise the interest rates, the answer will always be the same because the computer says so. That's like when I reach 100,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. Gina, you're eligible for the 100,000 subscriber mark. You get a plaque from YouTube. So I did a little typing like that, and to a human being. Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely. Let me pass this on. You should have got that a long time ago. They pass it on. I've just now passed this over to whoever, and once it went higher up, it was a blanket statement. We decide who to give it to. And I thought, you decide? Okay. Why? Because you slapped me with a copyright or something like that? A copyright strike, and the algorithm was the one who determined I got that copyright strike over something really strange. But no, it was the same blanket statement because I took that statement and I did a Google search. And everyone else who did not get their 100 subscriber thing from YouTube, it was the same blanket statement, verbatim, the same. So that tells me that, yes, the decision was ultimately left up to the algorithm, and they were the ones who decided who got the YouTube plaque, YouTube certificate, and who did not, who was worthy. It was. So I thought, good riddance to it. It's already deciding, and YouTube themselves with their Google algorithm, they programmed it to do something, to search out certain things, but it began to deleting thousands and thousands and thousands of accounts of people that it should not have deleted, but the algorithm was programmed and they could not tweak it. They could not tweak it. So now they have put more humans back into the jobs as a Google moderator. And it's different than a YouTube moderator. It's a Google moderator. Although when you look at the analytics, you still have the algorithm deciding whether or not your channel is suitable, whether or not your video is suitable. And sometimes you have the human. It'll show that a human physically looked at it too, you all. It's already happening. It really is. People, they're like a humanitarian-oriented people. Okay, so it says, listen to this, you all. So, and the human being, because the computer said, you're not going to get that loan, we can't decide. We can't even figure out why the computer said such a thing. It's because they said so. They have the absolute authority over you. So it says, so even in supposedly free countries, he goes on to say, humans are likely to lose control over their own lives, also lose the ability to understand public policy, because thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, 4,000 pages, 6,000 pages of bills. Who has time to read 6,000 pages before you vote on a bill? You don't. Before you vote on a bill of law, you don't. You don't. It's impossible. It is impossible. You got to vote anyway. Boom, rubber stamp it, you all. Yeah. So sometimes the chat won't let me say certain words. That's right, Danny. It's blocked them out. It's been programmed, and sometimes it thinks for itself. It really does. So could you imagine a class? They say global useless people, because you couldn't fight back against the irrelevancy, the irrelevant. You couldn't get the skill set, and then boom, There's nothing for you to do. That's why they need a universal basic income, and that's why you need to sit in front of video games and stuff like that. But you won't feel irrelevant. You won't be considered irrelevant to your family and friends, but you will be irrelevant when it comes to, I don't know, AI, higher intelligence, and the elite and stuff. Your life will be irrelevant. It's like resistance is futile. Okay, resistance is futile. Um, so Yuval Harari goes on to say, now we humans are used to thinking about life as a drama of decision making. What will be the meaning of human life? He says. He's really asking, what is going to be the meaning of human life when most of your decisions are taken by the algorithms? And we don't even have the philosophical models to understand such an existence of AI. There's no philosophical models to what AI may consider, your human existence, why they consider you a certain mindset on your thing. Look at this, you all. Redesigning life. Upgrade or downgrade? Do you want to upgrade? You got the head, you got the feet, you got the vision, you got the stomach, the motherboard. Oh, the computer's motherboard. Embedded SIM for instant calls. You got a embedded SIM. Okay. So wait, wait a minute, you all. So he's talking about, well, you like to have your life redesigned. Let's look at this visual that he's got. It's pretty cool. I didn't know he had it, but I'm going to look at it, you all. So the redesign and the upgrade of the human being with AI. Let's see what it is. For better or worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, as long as you both shall live, I do. Okay, they're going to say I do. So he's talking about the redesigning of life. You'll have your head. You'll have some, okay, you got legs and arms. You got vision enhancement. You can have your vision enhanced. I don't know what that body torso means. Maybe it's just a body. You'll have a motherboard, an embedded SIM for instant calls. And they said they want a SIM in their head. An IoT arm, OCM, that's a glitching arm. And internal wiring. Okay, so and emotional range. Oh, wow, you can be programmed for an emotional range. Oh, that's why we're getting used to these emoticons. Oh, wow, this is really interesting, isn't it, you all? He's a pretty smart individual, don't you think? Very smart individual. The unusual bargain between philosophers and politicians is that the philosophers have a lot of fanciful ideas, and the politicians basically explain that they lack the means to implement these ideas. Now we are in an opposite situation. We are facing philosophical bankruptcy. Well, I think that's pretty cool. Philosophical bankruptcy. I know a lot of you, if you let yourself get into a philosophical mindset, you can really go really, really deep. You can. I can. If I get myself in that type of a mindset, I can go really deep. Then I ask myself, well, how can I go really deep? Really, it's you literally tap into something on the inside of you, a deeper understanding, a deeper consciousness. You're able to tap into it. What is that deeper conscious? Does it surpass time and space itself? I think it does. It's like a type of spiritual connection, but is it a spiritual connection? Is there something far greater happening? I hope I'm not in advanced AI, you all. I hope that you're not in advanced AI, but there's something going on. I am a spiritual being with a soul in this physical body. I know that. And I feel emotions, and you feel emotions. But one day, what we consider our very life, it may be considered by a higher intelligence as irrelevant and useless. Useless because we cannot keep up with it. And that's his warning over a digital dictatorship. You want to stop the rise of a digital dictatorship because really nobody wins except those way up there in power. They're the when I said that nobody wins, the timestamp was 44.00 on here, 44 minutes exactly. So if you fail, look at this, you all. So the twin revolutions of infotech and biotech are now giving politicians the means to create a heaven or hell. But the philosophers are having trouble conceptualizing what the new heaven and the new hell will look like. And that's a very dangerous situation. If we fail to conceptualize the new heaven quickly enough, we might easily be misled by naive utopias. If we fail to conceptualize the new hell quickly enough, we might find ourselves entrapped with no way out. Oh wow, no way out. He's got the red pill and the blue pill. That's what just pop in my mind. The conceptualizing heaven and hell, a philosophical boundary. The blue pill and the red pill with no way out. Oh wow, that's pretty neat. That's what just popped into my mind. Um, and the technology might disrupt not just the economy, but the politics, the philosophy, and our biology. That's what he said. It might just not disrupt your country, but everything. Everything. Well, that'd be a new world order. But will humans be the ones who create that new world order? Or will it be a much higher power? Boom. In the coming decades, he goes on to say, yeah, we're talking about Yuval Harari at the World Economic Forum. He's been the spokesperson getting out there about the algorithms. Him and Elon Musk, and in the future, we probably have to have a universal basic income because there'll be a global useless society in the future because we cannot keep up with technology. And we're going to have to find our worth in this life. Well, you are worthy. Okay, you are worthy. No matter what is being said in this, you are relevant. You are. Even though we sometimes will say, that person is useless. Well, you really aren't useless. There are some people who are downright evil, and we don't have no use for evil people. Okay, we don't. That's a different thing. I've got no use for an evil person. I don't. Some demonic entities. Okay, we got some use for some loving people, some benevolent people. We really do. We love it. We love benevolent people, loving people. We do. That right there will build a better world when people are more like that. Okay, so in the coming decades, he says the AI technology will, biotechnology, AI and biotechnology, biological technology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life itself, and even to create completely new life forms. After 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection, Charles Darwin, natural selection, we are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design, a new era of intelligent, look at that. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design, artificially intelligent. Our intelligent design is going to be the new driving force of evolution of life, and using our new divine powers of creation, we might make mistakes on a cosmic scale. And in particular, the governments and the corporations and armies likely use the technology to enhance human skills, like intelligence and discipline. They'll neglect other human skills like compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spirituality. In the future, he's saying, our intelligent design, which is shaped, I guess, AI and biotechnology. That is who the creators are. I think that's what he said. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life, even create completely new life forms. And so he says that we're going to enter an era of inorganic life shaped by the intelligent design. And the intelligent design, which is AI and biotechnology, is going to be the new driving force of the evolutionary of life in using new divine powers. And they might make mistakes, but they will enhance the human skills that they need, the armies and stuff like that, with intelligence and discipline. But this is really sad, neglecting what it means to be human, like compassion, artistic sensibility, spirituality. They specifically said compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spirituality. There will be no spirituality because spirituality is totally different because inorganic life cannot have a spirit like you have. Okay, it can't. So, but they will have AI and biotechnology. He's a very smart man. He is extremely intelligent. He really is. Um, the result. He's talking about the result. We're talking about Yuval Harari at the World Economic Forum. He's been the leading force of getting the news out there about the rise of the algorithm and stuff like this. And one day there'll have to be a, what did I just say it was? A universal basic income. And Elon Musk also said the same thing. We're going to have a universal basic income because there'll be no jobs because of the advancement of technology. It will take over and streamline, and then everybody will have all this spare time on their hands to live a quality of life. If your quality of life is sitting in front of a video game or being stuck in a virtual reality, then I guess that's what you're going to be living in, a virtual reality. Yeah, me personally, I want to interact with other human beings. I do. I want to do like I'm doing now. I want to interact with people in person. I want to continue to do physical things in a physical world, even though this is kind of like a virtual, but it's real time, but you're seeing the message of me projected out there by the AI. It's pretty cool technology being used for good. So he goes on to say, we might have the result of this intelligent design created by AI and biotechnology might be a race of humans who are very intelligent and very disciplined, but they lack compassion. They lack compassion. They lack artistic sensitivity, and they lack a spiritual depth within them. You know, like that person, you know, you look at people and say, oh, that person's so shallow. Well, there are a lot of shallow people out there, but there's a lot of deep people. And the deep people, when you're talking to some people, you're finding out, I think there's not very many deep thinkers like I am. I can't talk to people on a deep level because there seems to be a shortage of them. There really is a shortage of people who you can speak to on a deep level. They're surface, they're shallow, they only go so deep. They only go so deep, you all. They really are. That's why a lot of people ain't never fit in, because you're a deep thinker. You're very deep spiritually. And there's a lot of shallow people. So, and some people can't help it. They can't. They really can't. And we get along with people like that. As long as you don't talk deep, you can have a flourishing relationship. Your relationship can still flourish on that type of a level. Okay, just don't have high expectations for a person who you want to have a deeper conversation with. Don't put your expectations so high so when you start talking you're really disappointed because they can't understand you on the level you want to be understand. Just say, okay, it's not within them, and that's okay. I can understand that. Okay, you also a race of humans who are very intelligent, very disciplined, and they lack compassion, lack artistic sensitivity, and lack spiritual depth. Of course, he says this is not a prophecy. He does not claim to be a prophet, and he's just now saying this. This is not a prophecy. These are possibilities. He is a scientist. He's a historian. Technology is never deterministic. So he's not prophesying it. He said it's a possibility. There might, he uses the word might because it's possible. It's possible. Technology is never deterministic. Never heard of it. Deterministic, you all. It took me a while because I'm just a human without advanced technology in my body. But I knew if I kept trying hard enough, I could get that word out of there. Deterministic. We got that out there, and I didn't even need super intelligence to get that word said the right way, you all. I did not. So in the 20th century, he's talking about the same industrial technology to build different kinds of societies. That's what they used in the 20th century. Fascist dictatorships, communist regimes, liberal democracies. The same thing will happen in the 21st century. Well, it's like history repeating itself. But if you listen to what he said before, in the future, You'll have the worst totalitarian regime in history if you allow an AI dictatorship to to come into emergence. That's what he said. Um, Biotech and AI will certainly transform the world, but we can use them to create different kinds of societies, he says. And if you're afraid of some of the possibilities that he's mentioned, you can still do something about it. But to do something effective, we need a global cooperation. We got to cooperate with people on a global level. You do. You got to put aside your differences. Just because you live in a different country, you have different whatever traits. You got to come together. Because I know if you don't come together, then they got you separated. Put aside your differences so you don't allow this type of a dictatorship to arise, you all. Really. Yeah. So, yeah, you can't have it. You can't have it. You can't have a global supreme power. You can't do it. Um, we should, okay, he's saying something like that. Dangerous mistakes when you don't come together. Nationalism, globalism, you got to have a global society. Global society where everybody comes together. Living in a world where everybody is one. And some could say, well, that's a fantasy. It really is. Well, he's philosophical. He's philosophizing. In the 20th century, the World Cup. I've never watched the World Cup. Look, there is a plausible scenario that they will go to war against each other next year. The law of the jungle says that for nearly every 2 nearby countries, there's a possible scenario that they will go to war with each other next year. Under the law, it's the temporary absence of war. You got Spartans, you got Greece. The meaning of world peace has changed. So the global order is now like a house that everybody inhabits and nobody repairs. Nobody repairs the global house. We all inhabit. We inhabit it. In short, even if we disappear, he says, it will not be the end of the world. Something will survive us, he says. Something will survive us. Perhaps the rats will eventually take over and rebuild civilization. Perhaps then the rats will learn from our mistakes. But I very much hope that we can rely on our leaders assembled here, he says, and not on the rats. The rat race, the rats. I wonder why he used the rats. Really, you'd like the secret of Nim. And you remember the secret of Nim. The rats were underground. They were using an experiment, and they became intelligent. And so they left the experiment lab. They went underground, and they were stealing electricity from the farmer, but they were really intelligent. The rats that were underneath the earth. And yeah. So the secret of Nim. So look at this. So something will survive us. Even if we disappear, it will not be the end of the world. Something will survive us. Something who will survive what? The average human? The human? The human, something will survive us. Let's see what he said. In the 20th century, okay. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life, create completely new life forms, and 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. It will give us the new driving force of evolution, life, and in using our new divine powers of our creation, we might make mistakes in a cosmic scale. In particular, governments, corporations, and armies are likely to use technology to enhance human skills that they need, like intelligence and discipline, while neglecting other human skills like compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spirituality. So this might result in a race of humans who are very intelligent and very disciplined, but they lack compassion, artistic sensitivity, spiritual depth. Of course, it's not a prophecy, he said. They are possibilities. Technology is never deterministic. But he said in the coming decades, it It will be godlike powers. So if that did happen, if that possibility that he just spoke of did happen, a race of humans who are very intelligent and very disciplined but lack compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spiritual depth, if that possibility that he hypothesized about happened, then we would have the end result. We would have, even if we disappear, if that happened and we disappeared, it would not be the end of the world. Something would survive us. Perhaps the rats will eventually take over, hypothetically speaking, in comparison. But I hope that we can rely on the leaders much more, even if we didn't. That's Yuval Harari. I did some videos on what did he say when he was talking about the algorithms, because I'm thinking you're quite an intriguing individual. Yeah. So that's right, you all. So life will go on, and we do not want the rise of a dictatorship. Thank you, the Royal One. Now I'll look at the comments. I'm done. I'm done sharing. I am. But this is much more important than sharing of the UFOs. Not that I don't like sharing UFO stuff, but you need to look at other things that are out there, you all. We gotta raise the awareness within ourselves. We really do. And we gotta look. There's nothing wrong with raising awareness. Yuval Harari raised awareness in his speech to the World Economic Forum, and there's lots of people who do not care for the World Economic Forum at all. They have their own thoughts about it, but he is being truthful in what he said with the possibilities of the things that might happen, even though he said he's no prophet, but it ended in a super intelligent human beings, and it would fit kind of in with the Neuralink and Elon Musk, and they're truthful. As the rise of AI and biotechnology, it has taken away jobs, and we won't be able to have the skill sets that are needed. And then what would we do with the time that we have? And you don't want to feel like you're useless. And there are people, you all, when you've been used to working a job, say a man. My dad got like that before, when he had to have surgery on his arms from the carpal tunnel, and he couldn't work. And he wanted to do something, but he couldn't. And it does something to your psyche when you're used to working and you want to work and you physically are not able. You want to feel like, even if you didn't have something like that done, you want to feel like you're contributing somehow, that you're doing something worthwhile. Because you don't want to fall into that state. I just feel useless. I feel my existence feels irrelevant. No. No, you're not useless. You're not. And your existence is very, very relevant. Don't get into the mindset of that. Don't. You've got people in your life. You've got things within you. Okay, you do. You've got a spirit. You got love. That's more important than, if that species ever occurs, a super intelligent species, well, they're not going to have no compassion. They're going to be self-disciplined. They're not going to be spiritual. So I think you're perfect just the way you are right now. I do. And I say make the best of this life while you're aware of the possibilities that are spoken of right here, because they're really kind of real. They are. They're really kind of real. That's exactly right, you all. So, yeah. No. And to me, that type of an existence, we've been warned about that. We really have. We have, you all. And does it make me upset? No. Do I look upset? No, I'm not upset. I'm not. I'm just aware of the possibility of that happening. And there are things in real life. If I've always looked at the big picture. Have you always looked at the big picture? There's a lot of people who look at the big picture in life. There are some who don't look at the big picture. The only picture they see is their picture. Their picture. But it's not just, it can't just be your picture, because you live in a world with a lot of other people. And what if they say, well, that's my picture? It's like your opinion and your thought concept of how you view the world. There's all different types of view, but there is one great big picture, you all. There is. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I am. So thank you all for watching. Y'all, please give this video a thumbs up. Yeah, it's a serious conversation. It is, because that's possible future, one of the possible outcomes. It is, and it does have a domino effect, and it will affect us. It's already affecting us in many ways. A lot of jobs are disappearing. So it's already, the cycle is already beginning, and it will continue and continue and continue to ramp up. So with that being said, thank you, Apple Brooks Honey. Thank you all. And hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours, love you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, you all. Love you.